Y bienvenido a la reunión del Comité Asesor de la Comunidad de Nwca.
We have you in the right channels. Do you want to do the welcome first? Do you want to do the base? I'm honored. I don't, you don't need to. I know. I'm honored. I had coffee at 7 o'clock.
That's all my mom was saying, do not make me get up and just charge it. Yeah, but in order to bring up another meal, right there. Use that's that's the one that will score.
Estamos esperando unos minutos para que la gente se pueda unir a la sesión de Zoom.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our March Community Advisory.
Sí, bienvenidos a todos y bienvenidos a la reunión del Comité Asesor y la Comunidad de Nwca. Hay hoy interpretación disponible y hay un globito en la parte de abajo de la pantalla donde ustedes van a poder escoger el lenguaje de su preferencia. Francisco va a hacer el anuncio en español.
Como siempre, interpretación al español disponible. Y para aquellos que no han usado este servicio anteriormente, pulsen el globito en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla que dice interpretación y seleccionen el idioma de su preferencia. Muchas gracias.
Okay, Kat.
Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're here.
Bienvenidos a todos. Nos alegra que están aquí y estamos en
So that means it's on its way. I'm Nwca. I'm your facilitator for the Community Advisory Committee. And I think we're going to start out today with introductions. And we'd like you to
personales
state
y
your name
queremos que digas tu nombre,
and your affiliation.
su afiliación, si así quieres hacerlo.
Also like you as
También me
an
gustaría
icebreaker to name
que
a
un
place
rompehielo
you've
que
been
no
to
por en un lugar.
that you would like to go back to again. And all of this is just one word. We're just trying to find out our similarities, our differences,
Estoy
get to know
aquí
each
para-
other a little bit more as we begin to do our work as of the advisory committee. So I think we'll start, Devin, with you. Welcome.
Awesome, thank you.
Estamos de este lado.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here.
Hola a todos. Es un placer estar aquí en persona. He estado aquí pues en Zoom, pero ahora estoy aquí, pues, soy miembro de la Asociación del Norte, de la Asociación de Negocios del Norte. Yo diría que Miami me hace falta mucho la cultura en Miami, las palmas, las palmeras y la playa. Yo soy Steve Nally, yo soy un funcionario del Centro National Western. Yo diría que Charleston en Carolina del Sur. Yo nací en Carolina del Sur. El agua, eh, hay grandes extensiones de agua, me encantan. Soy, estoy asistiendo a la reunión para aprender un poquito más. Nosotros auspiciamos muchas actividades con Focus Points. Fue como nos dimos cuenta de esta reunión y estoy muy entusiasmado de estar aquí, de poder participar y aprender lo que está pasando. Nueva York, estoy una vez y quiero regresar 2 o 3 veces más.
There you go.
Ciudad de Nueva York.
Hi, I'm Ann Hayes, and I'm
O
with the
de-
Steel Company. We're a developer
Yo
in streets and I'm very
soy de
responsive.
la compañía Delco y somos un
My favorite
organizador que
project
está
was
pues,
converting.
pues,
So I'd love
el
to
lugar
hear. I'm
favorito para mí es
with the
Turquía.
community.
Fui una vez y quiero regresar. Yo estoy con el proyecto Angel Heart, yo estoy con una organización sin fines lucrativos. He estado en muchos lugares, pero esta vez yo fui a Dinamarca y quiero regresar. Joe Henry, su presidente, San Diego.
Can we go?
¿Quieres que vaya?
Okay, Catherine Archuleta.
Carne
If
Archuleta.
I could ever afford it again,
Si
I
yo,
would go back to
pudiese,
Antarctica.
yo regresaría a Antártica si algún día llego a tener suficiente dinero para ir de nuevo.
Of penguins.
Me encantan los pingüinos. Hola, Brett Buchanan, Central National Western. A mí me gustaría regresar al que está Carlisle Beach. Está en la costa norte de Kuwait. Es donde se filmó la película de Aquí a la Eternidad. Aquellos que son lo suficientemente viejos aquí en la sala. Es un Edén.
Hi everyone, Jenna Garcia
Aquí
with the National
en
Western Center
el
Authority.
Centro National Western.
I would return to San Miguel de Allende. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
Anthony Aragon, Director of Community Engagement and Government Affairs here at the National Western Center Authority.
De-
I'm sure you all think I would say Puerto Vallarta.
Yo sé que
If
ustedes
I've
van a
ever
decir
come up,
Puerto
I would say
Vallarta.
that. No.
Lo he dicho hermano.
I'd actually love to go back to New York City again.
Ciudad de Nueva York. Ciudad de Nueva York.
Yeah.
Hi again, Anna Varela with Tierra Colectiva Community Land Trust. I would go back to Taiwan.
Yo me gustaría
I
regresar
definitely
a
want to go back
Taiwán.
before China
Yo
envelops
sí,
it for sure.
quiero regresar antes de que China se lo traiga.
Let's go up to
Bueno,
folks
ahora
on
vamos las
video.
personas que están en
Um,
pantalla,
let's see,
están
Miriam.
en línea. Miriam,
Okay, we'll start. How about we start with Shannon?
¿qué tal? Comenzamos con Shannon.
Hi everyone, I'm Shannon
Hola a
Hoffman.
todos, yo
I'm
soy
the
Shannon
program
Hoffman,
manager
yo
for
soy
the
la
Local
directora
Awareness
del
Fund,
proyecto
Community
de,
Investment Fund.
del Fondo de
Just
Inversión de
today
Global
I'm back
Liderazgo.
from
Hoy
San
acabo de
Jose,
regresar de un
Santa
viaje a San
Fe,
Diego y
and
Santa Fe, así es
Chicago.
que me encantaría regresar a esos lugares.
And let's see, AE.
She posted in the chat, she's in a meeting.
AE
I will see if I can.
está en una reunión, pero veamos
In another meeting on mute, embedded in the process across the three key neighborhoods. Pass on.
en
Okay. And Miriam?
Miriam.
Yes, hi.
Hola, sí, Miriam García, de Crear de
I
Sops.
handle all the operations
Yo me he ido con todas las operaciones en el centro y estoy muy contenta y entusiasmada y gracias por permitirme estar aquí.
Fernando.
Fernando, hola a todos. Yo soy del presidente de Credit Results. El lugar que me gustaría regresar es mi pueblo en México, Casco García, un pueblo colonial muy lindo que siempre voy por unos cuantos de días. Me gustaría pasar más días allá. Deberían de
Fernando,
visitarlo.
would you like to introduce yourself, your
Bien.
affiliation, and name a place where that you've been
Am,
to that you would like to go back to?
si quieres presentarse, yo soy Michelle Stern y lamento, tengo esta reunión que se lleva a cabo todos los días, que termina un cuarto para las 5. Yo soy el centro para crear comunidad. Acabo de regresar de Nashville, Tennessee, y me gustaría regresar.
All right.
Muy bien.
Well, let's share the
Bueno,
agenda. Maybe Jenna,
vamos a
you
compartir
can
la
give us
agenda.
an
Quizás
overview.
llena, tenemos una agenda bastante llena hasta el día de hoy.
You want to go over this or just skip this?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to this slide because
Siento,
it's really important.
¿no?
For those of you
Para
who
aquellos de
have been
ustedes
with
que han
us
estado
for
con
many
nosotros
meetings and others who are brand
y
new,
otros que son completamente
we have a code of
nuevos,
how we work together. And
tenemos
this was
un
decided
código
and
de ética de
voted
cómo
upon
trabajamos.
about two
Esto
and a
es
half
algo que
years
decidimos
ago, I
hace
believe,
de años,
around that
creo yo,
time.
como en
And
ese
these
tiempo.
are the
Y
sort of
estos son
our sort of
nuestros,
how we value each other and
la manera en
how
que
we work
nos
together.
valoramos, la
Backed
manera
up
en
in
que
trust,
trabajamos, los
openness and
respeto,
transparency,
confianza,
encouraging
a
others to share and inspiring others to
críticos,
open, to be open
orientar
to
a
ideas
otros a estar abierto
because
a
all
las
of our
ideas,
voices
que
matter.
todas las voces
And we try to share the conversation with one another so that we hear all voices. We understand we're a community that faces many realities. Sometimes those are difficult, and we strive for partnership through collaboration and
por
cooperation.
estar social.
And the
Los
agenda for this evening, oops,
esta
I'm gonna
noche.
go, I think I'm gonna go back.
Pero si
I'm
puedes
sorry, I
regresar
forgot I put that
en,
in order.
sí, gracias.
One of the things
Una
that
de las
we have
cosas
repeated
en las
in
que
our
hemos
roles and
cumplido es
responsibilities
nuestras
for those of us
metas y
who went through
responsabilidades.
that
Que los que
process
pasamos por ese
for
proceso
4 months,
4 meses,
we agreed in our roles and
acordamos
responsibilities that we would operate by
esas
consensus
responsabilidades que
decision
íbamos a
making
operar
because it doesn't
por
require that we achieve unanimity. That we want to get everyone involved, and we know that disagreements actually can help us
los
reach
descubrimientos
a
pueden ayudar,
consensus. So I'm not going to go through that, but just to
por
let
eso,
you know, for those of you who are new to the group, that we work by consensus. Yes, finally.
sí,
Oops, sorry. Here we go.
muy bien.
Okay, so
Entonces,
we've checked off the
como,
first two and closed
ya
off the community
identifiqué las primeras
advisory. We'll move
dos,
on to
ya
the
las
news and
pasamos, ahora vamos a
investment
pasar a
market
los
update. I think
anuncios de la
Shannon's gonna
comunidad
talk to
y
us about that.
también Shannon nos va a hablar
And then
acerca
Steve
de
and Anthony are going to give us in
la enfermedad
the National Western Center
y
updates.
ya,
So
sobre
let's start with community updates.
la
Anthony, want to share anything about
lo que está
community
pasando
or
en la
just
comunidad,
everybody
esta es
around
la
the table?
comunidad de lo que está
Going on
pasando
in
en la
the community?
comunidad,
No?
¿no?
I mean, if you look at me that long, I'm
Bueno,
gonna.
si me quedas viendo, yo voy a
I
decir
just
algo.
wanted to give an update.
Bueno,
So
quiero un
Nwca
informe de
has
tierra
already
colectiva, si no
submitted
han
what
han
has
mencionado
officially
esto,
purchased the parcel of land. So
lo-
now, in addition
la
to the
tierra, si no he
traditional
dicho esto,
homes
pues
that
ahora
we offer
tenemos,
today for
además de
residents in
las
the community, it's very
casitas,
exciting about
también
it.
vamos a compartir
I
con la
always try to
comunidad,
joke
estamos
that
muy
I know that
entusiasmados. Yo
it
sé
might
que
even look like a
quizás
forest
no
in
se
five
vea
years,
como un bosque,
but
pero
we are taking ground
vamos
zero. We're
a
planting
tomar,
trees now
vamos
so
a
that the
plantar
future
árboles
generations can have
para
shade.
que las
I'm very
generaciones
excited about
futuras
it.
puedan
Doug is our partner.
tengan
We are
sombra,
equals 19 preparing the soil for
estamos
treating it.
preparando el
I've
terreno, si
digged
tienen
some dirt
tiempo y
and get it
quieren
ready for to make
acabar
tree
la
planting
tierra,
sites and
vamos a
everything.
plantar
I would also
árboles,
love to
vamos
hear
a,
any thoughts that if anyone has
si
any
tienen alguna idea,
suggestions of
sugerencias
fruit bearing
acerca
trees
de
and vegetables,
am,
etc.,
árboles frutales que, que les, que, crecen muy bien en el clima de Denver. Nos encantaría escuchar las ideas. Ah, y eso es muy bueno, eso es lo principal para nosotros. Todavía estamos haciendo un poco de trabajo para conectar el agua. Son $10,000 para lograr que la ciudad de Denver conecte agua para que podamos tener irrigación. Los mantenemos informados gracias a todos que han participado en las campañas de caudar fondos. Las navegadoras van a hacer tamales y así para que vengan. Es que todo el mundo lo que dice es, por favor, más tamales. Y así es que voy a mantener informada. Yo diría que si me pides, sí, sí, yo sé que me pediste tamales. Creo que Doug está probablemente de publicidad, pero con los nuevos árboles requieren muchísima agua, pero también vamos a plantar árboles aquí y estamos creando un sistema de irrigación también.
100%. We
Sí,
are actually,
sí,
you reminded
100%.
me, Steve, that
Entonces,
Doug is providing.
pues,
So it's small, but it's still, gonna take at least an hour of time to keep those trees warm and watered. And the tree I have in my front yard, I also am praying for it. So if that one comes back, I might help, but if not, I promise I won't touch any.
Is this where we bury some saints? Have you ever heard of that?
Yes,
Yeah,
actually,
we bury
like if you-
saints in the front yard to help you.
or an upside down Saint Joseph.
Yeah, that's when you lose something, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's really exciting because there's so many neighbors that have medicinal plants that they're offering to the list that I've never even heard of. And, they're very, very like, cultural.
Yeah.
So we're just so excited to see, what goes there. But yes, so Steve, if you come around and you see that no one's watering, you could be our beekeeper. We'd be happy to have you. Cool. 4790 Josephine. It's actually adjacent to Focus Point's Huerta Garden. We're gonna be hopefully working with Focus Points to get some access going there, so that neighbors can go from that corner of 47th and, what is that, Columbine, right over to Josephine. It's kind of hidden, which is nice because you don't want something that's reserved for neighbors to be able to pick and choose from, to be so exposed that anyone passing by on the bus goes, oh, look at all these pears. But it's also, we need to get a little bit better about access, so I'll keep you posted about that. We're really excited.
Any other news?
I do have one community update. I think it doesn't fall under National Western Center updates because it is about community. So we've been in the midst of planning a community-wide Earth Day event on Saturday, April 20th from 1 to 4 p.m. Thank you, Joe, since you're in the room for being one of our sponsors. But we've got and Rick as well, and Devin, thank you for partnering with us. But we were able to fundraise some money, and we've got about another 20 or so partners on board that are going to be providing educational information at the Earth Day event. We're going to have electronic recycling, and Compost Colorado is also going to have a presence working on getting some seeds. But the flyer was just completed today, and we'll be sending that out. And thanks to CREA Result, they're going to be canvassing the 3 communities tomorrow and Friday. But more to come. You'll receive that. I'll send that email out with the flyer for our April 20th community-wide Earth Day event.
One other quick mention, in relation to the Earth Day event, Compost Colorado will be bringing several truckloads of free compost for anyone who is interested in picking some of that up and utilizing it in their garden. That's great.
Exciting. Yeah. It's very generous. It's very expensive. Okay, let's move on to the CIF. Shannon, would you like to?
Can I just make a quick announcement too, please? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sorry. we are gonna continue to be able to plant more trees in different communities in Denver. So Globeville, Tuancia, and Elyria, as well as Chaffee Park, Sunnyside, and Highlands are still part of the current geographic area. So if you know somebody who would like to adopt a one-legged family member, please let them know. And we are going to be able to provide 1 to 3 trees in partnership with the Climate Agency on Resiliency and Sustainability. And we are in the process of expanding the areas. But
Estamos en el proceso de expandir esto, pero mientras tanto estamos en las áreas de poder adoptar un árbol. También estamos haciendo asociación con escuelas, iglesias y negocios. Y la idea es aprender esto. Si saben que esto es un proceso para entrar, pero para poder obtener ese apoyo. Pero ese es uno de los programas que nosotros queremos que pueden hacerse disponibles en la comunidad. Gracias, Fernando. Y Ángela García, veo que usted está con nosotros. Ángela García es un miembro del comité asesor y también está trabajando cercanamente con Shannon. Ángela, ¿quieren ustedes hablar acerca, hablar del Fondo de Inversión Comunitaria? Sí, claro. Déjeme primero me organizo. Como sabemos, el CIF ha estado en proceso por un tiempo. Alfonso Espina, Liliana Flores Amato, yo y Tony García somos los miembros. Hemos estado trabajando eso por mucho tiempo, como 2 años, creo. Pudimos lograr que el centro para las instituciones sin fines de lucro, que es para que haga la parte fiscal, les dimos a ellos todo lo que tenemos y ellos comenzaron y estamos tan, apreciamos tanto el trabajo de ella y en lo que vamos ahorita. Y quiero darle ahora la palabra a Shannon. Gracias. Gracias, Angela. Sí, yo voy a compartir mi pantalla y voy a mostrar esas diapositivas. Pero yo soy Shannon Hoffman. Yo soy el gerente de proyecto para el Fondo de Inversión Comunitaria de GS y realmente es un honor el poder trabajar con este comité y con los miembros de la comunidad que he conocido hasta ahora en este proyecto. Una de las cosas que estamos es que tenemos un nuevo logo y los miembros de la comunidad tuvieron mucho que ver con la selección de este y de los colores. Nos estamos muy emocionados con esto y también está en nuestra página web que voy a compartir con ustedes en un momento. Pero voy a empezar en Kesh porque cuando yo miré muchas de nuestras presentaciones anteriores, esto fue algo que yo encontré y creo que es una parte importante, un fundamento de lo que se trata el Fondo de Inversión Comunitaria. Entonces, en la que tú eres mi otro yo, si te hago daño a ti, me hago daño a mí mismo. Si te amo y respeto, me amo y respeto yo mismo. Entonces, un poquito acerca de dónde hemos estado y Ángela ya dio un vistazo general, pero aquí un poco más. La estructura de comité ya se ha creado, como dijo Ángela, hemos desarrollado una relación con la parte fiscal del CRC y hemos estado en reuniones de CAC y de CBC. Entonces, donde estamos es que estamos lanzando nuestro sitio web, nuestra solicitud para recibir propuestas, repasando, seleccionando los miembros del comité, haciendo sesiones de información comunitaria, entregando $80,000 en subvenciones. Esta es nuestra página web.
On the site, you can find out a little bit more about what is the Community Investment Fund, what kind of projects does the CIF fund, and how to stay in touch. There's also links to our social media pages, and you can also toggle the website so that it goes into Spanish and English. And then this takes you to the application page. Just to add a flag, right now, the application is just in English, but it is getting translated and we will have it up here by tomorrow. So then a little bit more about the Community Investment Fund, what types of projects. And then also want to point out over here on the About Us page, we have a little bit about the vision and also the kind of history of how the CIF was formed and how it was formed through I can't think of the agreement right now, but it is in here. The framework agreement. Thank you. So that's our website. Have I been sharing the page the whole time, or was it just sitting on that one page? Please tell me you saw the whole website as I was moving around.
We saw everything. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. I just got so worried that my tabs got messed up there. I'm so grateful. Thank you. I hope someone would shout at me if that was not happening. So then just a few more things. We just sent out a mailer that just arrived in neighbors' mailboxes. And I'll show you the mailer here in a moment. And thanks to National Western for the support of the payment for that mailer so that we could send it to everyone in the Globeville area and Swansea neighborhoods. Our application is open and we will have our first information session tomorrow. And then 3 more, March 29th, April 2nd, and April 3rd. We'll also have so at those information sessions, it will be an overview of the application, how to apply, but we'll also have some office hours where folks can come and get some one-on-one support with their applications. So we just hope that you will share this grant application with folks that you know in the neighborhood and encourage people that you know to apply for the grant selection committee, because we want that committee to also consist of folks from the neighborhoods. This is just to show you, if you haven't seen it already, what the mailer looked like. So one side in Spanish and one side in English, and it has those information sessions and the locations on there. So that is it. I will stop sharing, and if anyone has any questions or comments, Angela and I are here.
Questions? Comments?
Just congratulations. I know you guys have been working really hard for a really long time.
Yeah, I will say also, Shannon, Angela, I'm gonna call you out. Angela sent me this really just absolutely positive text of the postcard arrived in the mail. I got the postcard. So, yeah, so congratulations. It's starting in the community right now.
Thank you. We're really excited.
Angela, any other comments you'd like to make?
No, just to quote Shannon, we're beyond excited. I was jumping up and down when I got the mailer. And yeah, we're just ready to get this going. And, you know, in the future, we will be, from this, people will know who we are. So then we can begin recruitment. And then from there, we will also begin to look at other funding resources for the CIF. And yeah, we're glad that this is come to fruition, and it's going to grow some beautiful fruit and flowers that are going to benefit the GES community.
Thank you, Angela, and congratulations on putting hard work into the CIF committee for everything they've done for the last 2 years. It must feel really, really good to be in this spot. Okay, we're gonna move on to the National Western Center updates, and we'll start with Steve.
Great. Hi, everyone. Steve Nally here again. Let me just share my screen momentarily here. So I'm going to provide an update on the Equestrian Center and Hotel projects. We've been very busy over the past month, and we have a lot to share. We are also proposing kind of our next phase of community input into the project, and we're seeking your guidance, your input on what this kind of proposal looks like and how we roll out over the basically the next year, well, through the end of this year, on what that process and those steps could be. We have some ideas, and we want to hear from you on if we're on the right track. Just a reminder, the Equestrian Center Hotel and Parking Garage site is the one with the dashed line around it, that kind of darker orange. It's about just shy of 18 acres on the campus, along National Western Drive, along the riverfront. There it is. That's the map. Just wanted to make sure people know where it is. The procurement sequence that we went through. So over the past year, we procured a partner, and we're announcing that partner today on my next slide. But wanted to remind folks of the steps that we took together to set the goals, refine the process of how we work together. We had several meetings, including meeting with this group monthly, to generate ideas that actually went into the request for proposal that we wrote. We went through a pretty rigorous selection process. We had 3 teams competing. We shortlisted to 2 teams, and we selected one of the teams. And this is a big consortium. It's a big team with several different components, and I'll talk through those momentarily, but I just wanted to highlight where we've been, the sequence that we took, and the ideas that made it into the RFP and how they responded to them. The selected partner is, the name of the team is Community Activation Partners. CAP is their acronym. And these are the key participants. There are several other members of this team that are not listed here. These are pretty massive teams, but these are the key participants and how they tie into those roles which are defined in the RFP. So the lead developer is Fengate Capital Management. The hotel developer is Hensel Phelps and McWhinney. The hotel manager, the group that will actually operate the hotel, is Sage Hospitality. Events programming is Global Spectrum, OVG, and Live Nation to bring events to the campus. The lead designers, Perkins and Will, on the Equestrian Center Parking Garage. 4240, which I failed to list here, my apologies, is the architect for the lead designer for the hotel. And then there's a single contractor for the whole project, and that's Hensel Phelps Construction. So again, this is a consortium, many players. If I just said we selected CAP, no one would have any idea what I'm talking about. These are the players that make up that group. So I used some smart art here. I actually intentionally am stepping down closer to the ground. We are kind of next steps moving forward. We are working on the pre-development work. This is pre-construction work. It's mostly design, getting additional community input into that design, figuring out the finance approach, additional due diligence, really refining the pro forma and the model of what this will look like from a cost and a revenue perspective. all of that is somewhat captured in this pre-development agreement, which is basically the process we went through for procurement is to get to a signature of that pre-development agreement. We look to finalize that agreement over the next few weeks, and that will be between the National Western Center Authority and CAP. Many deliverables are identified in that pre-development agreement. It really lays out our next 9 to 12 months. And this is doing enough design work to get to what is this thing going to cost us, and working on an actual development agreement and identifying the actual project funding, which is that next agreement down in orange. Again, that would be between the authority and CAP, and that will require going back to city council for approval. We are seeking an annual funding of this project. We put into the RFP that it's potentially $15 to $20 million over the next, and we didn't necessarily define a date, but it could be 30 to 40 years. An annual appropriation from the 2C funding, which is 2C was the ballot measure that passed the lodgers tax. That's the tax that people pay in the hotel and prepare foods and rental cars. That goes to fund this funding source. We would tap into that source, use those funds, which those funds have built what's out here today so far, and that's the project funding we'd be seeking. That happens in that orange phase. Then we move into construction. We'll button up and finalize design, move into construction, and then we are on the ground and operating this in the future. So those are the key steps. Next 9 to 12 months is really about design and this pre-development work. So going back to the process that we all went through to get community input into this, I know there's a lot of text up here, but we had basically 5 different themes of ideas that we heard around community controlled space on this site. Several design ideas, locally relevant, accessible restaurants, cafes, bars, not just hotel patrons. This idea of community use and rates. So can the meeting rooms become available for community use? That's different than community controlled space, which would be something that the community decides what's in there, and they actually operate it and run it. CIF revenue sources. We, as at the authority, we heard a presentation from the CIF group. We at the authority, our key role here is to try to find additional revenue sources into that so that the CIF can run and issue grants and do what it needs to do out in the community and independent of us, but we are really trying to find additional revenue sources into that fund. And then jobs training, small business support, actual jobs for community members, not just low paying jobs, full spectrum of jobs when this thing is up and running. So we have more boxes and lines here. So these ideas are, all plug in at different times. I'm gonna need some water.
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry. These all plug in at different times. And it's really critical that we have that conversation early. As you can see, there will be a construction period.
We'll wait.
One time only.
You're gonna have to do the round.
I know.
I feel like I've been talking way too much today. So I think this has happened on this project before where we had a ton of input, a ton of engagement, and we were working really closely with the community. And then we started construction and it kind of went cold. And that's because we were building it. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about. And there's a risk of that happening here. We obviously want to keep the conversation going. I don't know what's happening to my voice. But basically what this highlights is, Yeah, maybe. Over time, and especially in 2024 in this pre-development agreement phase, all of these need to be discussed and in great detail. I think it might work. I'm losing my voice. The jobs piece is really critical during construction because there could be a lot of construction jobs. There's also that operational connection for once we're up and running in those jobs that I mentioned before, especially at the hotel. So in order to accomplish this over time, we are proposing to create these task forces or focus groups. And there are 3 of them. So you can see the design input and input into the community space is really all part of the same conversation. That touches all these 3 phases of the project. Community use and rates and CIF revenue is another task force, and then jobs is another one. So this is how we're planning to accomplish that. And we are seeking your input on this. So we will continue to meet as a CAC, a Community Advisory Committee, and provide updates right here. And we're looking for you all to steer us through this process. We have our Community Benefits Committee, the CBC, that also meets monthly. That's a subgroup of our board of directors. We are proposing to have a kickoff community-wide meeting in Globeville and in Elyria, Swansea in April to introduce our partner, our contractor, and go through this kind of input process of self-assigning into these various task forces. So some people may want to go to all of them. That's great. Some people may want to, they really only care about the CIF revenue, and that's what they want to focus their efforts on. And so our plan is to have several task force meetings around these topics, May, June, and July. Come back with another larger community-wide meeting in August to provide an update for where we stand, what the task force has accomplished. And that window of time is really critical for making decisions on the project and designing the project. Earlier input is way better. We don't want to wait until November and have a community process. This thing will be well designed by that point. So we need to meet early and get input into this starting in April as we step through it. So we have a flyer put together. We're gonna do a mailer to everyone in 80216 announcing these public meetings, this kickoff, introduce the partner and identify these different task force groups to really focus on this as we step through it. So before my voice completely goes, seeking input on this process, what it looks like, and what your thoughts are, ideas from the group.
Would it be helpful to leave this up, or would you like to see the faces of the attendees?
I can see the faces on my screen. Would be helpful for you?
Well, we can't see, I can't see who's raised their hand.
You could tell us, Steve.
No one.
Okay.
Anybody have a question?
So questions or comments about what Steve has shared with us? And any part of that, please do.
When was the community-wide event on the 17th? Was that at Waterden or?
Yes.
Okay. I was just making a note of that.
Yeah, we're trying to hit Louisville and Elyria, Swansea.
And these meetings will share exactly the same information.
Same agenda, yeah. Same meeting.
And primarily an introduction of the team. Exactly. Is that right, Steve?
That's right. Introduce the partner that we've selected. And it's, as you can see, it's several people. And this process that we want to go through.
So Steve, I have a question. So will the partner be then responsible for managing all of these task force meetings?
That'll be us.
Okay,
The authority is running this whole thing. They are our power contractor that we've hired.
But they will be
Support.
there listening and.
They'll be there to support and, you know, I think I mean, they're gonna be important in all of these, especially from an operations perspective. Their designer will be there. The designers will be there for the design task force. Yeah, I mean, the group we may not have the designer at the jobs for the CAF revenue piece, but
The appropriate people at the
Yep.
appropriate task force.
Yep.
if I may, not that I'm particularly triggered from, I don't know, World Hall a few months ago, but is there an opportunity to run through like the agenda or how these topics might be presented to community at CAC or, you know, community benefits agreement, any area where we can just kind of workshop a little more collectively what that looks like? I'm just kind of thinking of like the sticker thing or whatever, how there was a little bit of pushback for that. I feel like if we put a few more heads together, we might get a little more of a conducive conversation. Do you guys have plans for that, or otherwise I'm happy to make myself available for something like that?
I do not think that CAC meets again before
Mm.
what's the next CAC meeting?
April 24th.
Well, then maybe just like an email of just like what it's gonna look like, just so at least people know in the, and they can go into the meeting being participants saying, okay, I understand what the agenda is gonna look like. It's just a suggestion, definitely don't have to do it, but
Are you thinking, so the two community meetings that we're gonna host, and thank you for that, that's exactly what we wanna hear. Because this is just an idea, you know, that
Right.
we've sort of talked through, and that's why we wanna get your input so that we can improve the process, to your point about Grove Hall, so that we don't do a repeat, right? So what we wanted to do at the April 17th and April 18th meetings was, one, introduce the partners, give a broad overview of the entire project so that the community that come to these meetings, it may be their first time hearing about this project. So we want to make sure that we're starting at step one with community, right? That we're not going to go in and say, oh, we already did all this, and, you know, community met last year. Community might not have been at those meetings, right? So we want to make sure what's most important is that we give a broad overview, you know, talk about the history of the campus, you know, what's happening at the campus, and then the Equestrian Center Hotel, and talk about that, and then share with them, give kind of a brief overview of each of these task forces. And then community can then sign up for one of the task forces. I think to your point is then what happens at that first task force meeting, right? And what's the agenda look like? Where's there opportunity for input from communities as we frame the task force meetings? Yeah.
I think the step before.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Before we can get to the task force, I mean, that April.
It's like almost like, even, how are you gonna do it? Are you just gonna, I know it sounds like such an easy, an area where it might be nitpicking, right? To say, well, are you just gonna grab pieces of paper and say, this is the name of the task force? Or I think the way it's presented, right? Saying, okay, well then, this is the name of the task force. This is the QR code, so you can share it with someone else that wasn't able to come to the meeting. This is, you know, this is, the incentives for each task force or the responsibilities written out. That way someone doesn't sign up and go, you know, oh, I signed up and I had no idea, but it was, I misunderstood during the meeting. Just like little kind of community meeting steps like that, so that when we come out, everyone goes, whether they signed up or not, they go, that felt like a meeting where I know what I was signing up for. I love the context, of course, providing that, but that's mostly what I just wanted to check in on.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's really good counsel, and we had sort of talked a little bit about it, but not that clearly. One of the things that I know is important in these kind of conversations is to talk about what it is and talk about what it isn't, right? So that people, when they do sign up, their expectation, they have a level set expectation of like, what are the questions we're gonna tackle here? And what aren't the questions that we're gonna tackle?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Anna, are you also suggesting that before the April 17th meeting, people know that these task forces are gonna be forming and to come and learn about them, or?
I don't know if we have to go that far, because then you'll get questions before the meeting about it, but which you can be open to. It's, you know, not my capacity that I'm volunteering here. But, I mostly mean like the agenda, right? Because when people show up and they go, what is this about? It can be shocking because it is a lot of information and it's, you know, your lived experience. And even like I saw Live Nation and I already had a million questions. I was like, oh my God, how are you gonna get comp tickets from Live Nation? Like, or whatever it is, right? I immediately had, versus if you have an agenda, people know, okay, look, oh, it looks like there's gonna be community discussion. And there's something about task force. I'm gonna come with questions about what is a task force? And they, you know. and you
So
can come-
share the agenda ahead of time.
I would say at least just an outline of the day or something like that. And then, of course, I'm just speaking just from past community experiences and knowing that there was just little misunderstandings about what people were seeing and versus what their expectations of the meeting were. And I think that those pieces can be remedied.
Great. If I may really quick, I totally second everything you just said. It's an awesome point, an awesome aspect to really have come prepared into those type of meetings. And I just wanted to second, I know you had mentioned that there were some flyers that you had for these type of events. Just wanted to see if you could possibly share those. So that way we can kind of get set, like with our own individual newsletter, we can share that out to the rest of the community.
Most definitely. We just finalized that today, this morning.
For sure.
So
Okay.
we'll make sure and get that out.
Sure.
We're going to mail it to everyone in the 80216 zip code, but we're also going to physically print a couple hundred of flyers so that we can distribute them to rec centers and libraries like we typically do, but we'd love to distribute them to partners.
Sure.
Community partners as well.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you.
I just want to comment that I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for community members who really don't understand the National Western Center to come and learn. And so maybe it can be promoted that way as well. I mean, and make it so that people who are coming to just learn don't necessarily have to sign up for a task force. So that could be off-putting, like, oh, if I go, I may have to do this.
Right.
And just, you know, kind of like it's educational experience and plus, you know, opportunity to sign up for further involvement, that kind of thing. Because I think that you want to get as many community members here as possible. It's just a big opportunity to spread the word more about what's going on here.
Yeah. But we may want to revisit the flyer. I know you said it's finalized, but I mean, this is really our point our chance to make that connection with, it shows up in the mail and it just says come to the meeting and it has the date. It says other things too, but it doesn't include the agenda and it doesn't include, you know, come learn about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Or link to. the,
Yeah,
you know,
something that we can do is we can put the information on the website that includes the agenda, and then when we do the texting, we can refer them to the website, which includes the agenda, so that they see it there. We can also work with CREA, you know, provide talking points when they're canvassing the community, which they're gonna do as well. So that if they, you know, speak to a community member when they're delivering the flyer, they have the agenda and the information. Actually, to Steve's point, we may need to rethink the.
And we don't
The
have
QR
another-
code that's on the flyer now is for the CAC, right? It's because there's a little, you can also attend the CAC piece, and that was a QR code. We didn't have a QR code for them then, but we could do that and add a lot of information.
I'll tell you guys about Linktree later. It's one QR code and you have all the links to it, right? I mean, it's super fun. We don't have another partner meeting before then, do we?
No, so we won't meet again until April 24th after the two meetings, but grateful that we're bringing this up now, and then maybe we can have some other conversations offline to just sort of work together via email or even get on the phone before we sort of finalize, you know, what we're doing.
Sure,
I
happy to
think
provide.
one of the most important things is an opportunity to reach out well into the community, and I think all of the CAC has advised us is reaching well beyond sort of the people who are most interested in trying to generate new interest in, to your point, Anna, about how they can become involved or just learn. And maybe it's not involvement, but just, I want updates and how they would continue to get those. I see, AE, you have your hand raised.
Can you hear me? 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 I guess you can't hear me.
Signal to her.
in the chat.
Alma did already.
There you
I'm sorry, I apologize. Can you hear me now? I'm just gonna.
Yes.
Okay.
Hear us?
Okay, my apologies. Steve, flashing back a little bit to what you pointed out is critical in a process like this, that it goes forward in a way where
Es crítico para que este proceso realmente
fizzle out.
vea el impacto y que la gente sepa cuál es el efecto. Es como del otro lado de la moneda lo que está diciendo Anne, que la gente pueda aprender, pero sí hay una manera de elevar este proceso para que sea más interactivo, para que haya una medida de lo que la gente ha podido aportar a la implementación de lo que ha sucedido paso por paso en vez de mirarlo simplemente como algo educativo, que la gente aprenda el proyecto, cómo ese involucramiento se traslada a trabajo para hacer de manera cualitativa y cuantitativa para que se maximice el impacto y que los constituyentes que sepan que el efecto que eso ha tenido en la política, en los beneficios y enriquecimiento de todos los aspectos de esto. Está, se ve estrictamente informativo, pero esto es algo que durante todo el proceso pueden recibir, digamos, más potencia y sería de mucha ayuda que pudiera ser medible.
There's a really good story to tell around the ideas that we generated
Y
as
la
a
idea es que lo que se genera como comunidad antes del RP
silly, but the team name starts
suena
with
tonto, pero empieza con la comunidad y cada párrafo de la propuesta lo entendieron y leyeron todos los componentes y yo he visto el impacto y la reacción y el entendimiento que tiene de la comunidad hasta ahora. La intención de estas reuniones es suministrar estas contribuciones. Va a haber cosas que es tan importante que la comunidad pueda tener, dar guía entre esto, el hotel, el espacio de activación comunitaria. Entonces, no vamos a discutir el color de las paredes, eso va a ser una actualización, pero ciertamente vamos a asegurarnos que la comunidad que pueda hacer soporte. Es como el centro ecuestre. Y yo lo escucho creo que podemos hacer el mejor trabajo reportando en cuanto a cómo las cosas han cambiado y cómo han sido impactadas por el involucramiento hasta hoy día y de aquí en adelante. Yo quiero solicitar que no se ponga mucho parte del modificador en cuanto a la lista corta de la comunidad para impactar. No hagamos eso, eso es una expectativa tradicional. Debe ser muy transparente en cuanto a la realidad de las cosas y los trabajos de los desarrolladores y alianzas y de las instituciones y los ambientes. No lo sobresimplifiquemos, el dar simplemente una lista de lo que se puede hacer y puede no ser. Hagamos un proceso que sea más integral. Una de las cosas que se sugirió cuando empezamos a hablar de esto el verano pasado es que íbamos a hacer encuestas en la comunidad y podría ser que quisiéramos pensar en múltiples maneras de alcanzar a la comunidad. Y no solamente reuniones comunitarias, porque muchas de la gente no puede ir y muchos de los miembros aquí y no recomendamos que pensáramos en otras maneras de involucrar a la comunidad. Entonces, para pensar en qué otras cosas podemos hacer para llegar a la comunidad, no solamente basadas en reuniones comunitarias. ¿Algún otro comentario o pregunta? Gracias por todos los comentarios, preguntas y sugerencias. Son de mucha utilidad. ¿Algo más? Steve, no, es todo para mí. ¿O por mí? Todo lo que tengo que decir. Antes de que yo comparta lo que hay en la agenda para la reunión del CAC de abril, Marcy Logan de la oficina de National Western, del Centro National Western para la alcaldía, ella tiene algo que compartir con nosotros. Déjenme ver si me pueden escuchar. Sí, sí, sí la podemos escuchar. Hola, buenas noches a todos. Gracias por tenerme aquí y lamento que Maguire no va a poder estar aquí. Él está fuera de la ciudad con su familia para el descanso de la primavera de la escuela. Entonces, realmente estoy emocionada de informarles que el Departamento de Transporte ha concedido una subvención para conexión de comunidades. Eh, y la semana pasada se hizo el anuncio, lo hizo el alcalde y miembros de la delegación, gente de Washington anunciaron que se recibieron 35.4 millones de dólares para infraestructura para conectar mejor los vecindarios del globo de la Swansea. Específicamente el proyecto, y creo que esto se trajo a este grupo antes, específicamente el proyecto va a incluir 4 elementos. Uno, el puente multimodal sobre el río Platte. El segundo, el nuevo puente peatonal sobre las vías del ferrocarril. Y este es el puente que va a conectar desde la estación del ferrocarril. No, está bien. Era así, estaba haciendo algo. El, el centro peatonal campus y que luego se puede llegar al puente de la 40 y que va a la calle Washington. El tercer elemento es crear mejoras de el cruce de las ferroviarias en la entrada al campus de la 46 y esa es parte de el redesarrollo del campus. Nosotros eliminamos 13 cruces ferroviarias y luego tenemos una que ha sido mejorada en Luis Square National Western Center, National Western Drive y el último elemento es la limpieza de el terreno que pertenece a DP, donde se estacionan los camiones. Entonces estamos muy emocionados de haber recibido esta subvención y hay mucha gente que quiere saber cuál que sigue y que ahora es el cronograma de tiempo y la ciudad tiene que pasar un acuerdo primero con el Departamento de Transporte para entender qué hay que hacer para seguir avanzando con estos procesos, con estos proyectos, perdón.
¿Alguna pregunta? Gracias, Marcy. ¿Alguna pregunta? ¿Preguntas? ¿No? Solo quiero decir felicidades a todo el mundo. Gracias tú en Joe. Escribieron cartas de apoyo por estas subvenciones. Eso fue incluido en la solicitud también. Es mucho dinero. Gracias. Estoy muy interesada en aprender más acerca de urbanización dirigido por la comunidad. Me gustaría pues decir lo que dijo Steve acerca de cómo esa participación de la comunidad es discutida en el CAC y más allá tengo mucha curiosidad por ver en qué dirección se dirige eso. Definitivamente, Ana. No estoy diciendo lo que dice. lo que
We can
dice
make
es
spots for community-led development. And if it's a
retomando o rescatando comunidades de loto. Sí, también por el sitio de limpiar ese lote para que el uso de la comunidad, organización, porque ahorita solamente se puede, uno solo se
And
puede
we can make
estacionar ahí.
and you should not
Pueden
bring
hablar acerca de esto y no deben de discutir. Yo recomiendo no fumar en ese sitio, pero la ventilación y las medidas de mitigación que integramos hace algunos años están funcionando muy bien. La ventila y todas esas cosas, y todas esas que ves ahí están haciendo su trabajo. Son las cositas esas que dan vueltas.
Yes,
Ese es
Marcy,
mi
and what
término
was your name,
técnico.
Marcy? You wanna verify?
¿Alguien más? Estamos hablando, ¿de qué estamos hablando?
The entire press
Quiero decir, pues, no,
But thank you, Marcy, for sharing
gracias,
that.
Mercy,
I
por
think it's
compartir
exciting.
eso.
I'm
Ese era
looking
mi
forward
último comentario. Estoy muy
to
ansioso
what that looks
por
like, to what that process looks like.
ver cómo se ve ese proceso. Y pienso hacer que ese es un paso que vamos a poder pasar adelante conforme avancemos adelante para conciliar toda esa información y todo, hablar de estas cosas y hablar acerca de la página. Tendremos una página web. Hay mucho que desempacar aquí. Estamos muy entusiasmados por hacerlo. Usted es una magnífica
Thank you,
noticia.
Marcy.
Gracias, Marcy.
Any other
¿Algún
comments?
otro
Any other
comentario o
comments?
noticia? Solamente para Diego, si es para la reunión de, si es, de abril, va a tener una presentación de Bess Bogelsen, que ha estado trabajando con Chris Cananan y Dar en la oficina de participación comunitaria acerca de lo que era el área de proyectos del área de Washington, pero ha sido sea, su nuevo nombre es Programa de Proyectos GS. Nos van a dar una presentación en la reunión de abril, una serie de proyectos que se están llevando a cabo en la calle Washington y en la comunidad. Uno de esos también, yo creo que incluye alguna información acerca de el agua de Denver. El agua de Denver tiene que reemplazar la línea la tubería principal del agua en abril. Vamos a hablar de ese proyecto y queremos invitarlos para que vengan y nos den una información a la comunidad acerca sobre todos esos proyectos que han estado siendo planificados o se han estado planeando, pues que para que nos pongan al día de eso, pues para que nos inviten pues a esta reunión, para que nos informen acerca de lo que va a pasar. ¿Algo más? Tony, ¿algo más? ¿Miembros de la comunidad?
No,
No.
then this is historic.
Entonces, esto es histórico,
Absolutely historic.
definitivamente histórico. John Henry, son 10 después de las 6. Wow.
We couldn't even get
Ni
through that
siquiera
with the
pudimos pasar por eso sin seguirnos.
Well, thank you everybody
Gracias a
for
todos por
your
estar aquí,
testimonials that'll be here
es
for those
aquí,
of
para
you who
que
are in the
ustedes que
room
estén
and
en la
those of
reunión,
you
que ustedes
on the
que estén
screen.
en la
Hope you have a good
pantalla. Espero
evening
que
and
pasen
we'll
muy
see you next month.
buenas noches. Esperamos verlos el próximo mes.
That's so funny. And you were like, wait.
Anne was.
Before the meeting.
Go away.